Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw and I'm joined by my good friend. He put the Mike White in Mike White March. And this year, it's not depressing two on the nose films. Not that the films last year were bad, but it was just the worst of worst timing. This month we're talking about pre-code films and Mike White is here with me and I can't wait to talk about this film, Mike.
I am so excited, Chris.
Yeah, this really is a far cry from last year, just with this first film right off the bat. We are going to be talking about 1932's The Jewel Robbery, but before we start talking about the film, before I even play the trailer, I always cede the floor to you at the beginning of every one of these Mike White March episodes. I want to know, since this is the first one, why pre-code? I know you talked a little bit about it on the last episode, but why did you pick pre-code and why The Jewel Robbery?
So I don't even remember how this one came on my radar, but I recorded this, DVR'd it, however you want to say it, off of maybe TCM, maybe it was another movie channel, and I sat down and watched it probably a few months ago, and I had never seen this film. I was just completely floored by it, loved it. And then when we were talking about what we're going to do for Mike White March this year, we had a bunch of different ideas kind of banding about. And then I thought about this film and I said, oh, hey, how about I look into other pre-code films? Because I am very unfamiliar with pre-code movies. And so I went out to a bunch of different places, just grabbed a whole bunch of lists and started going through and saying, oh, this title keeps showing up on multiple lists. So Jewelry Robbery was not one of those titles. The other films that we're going to talk about this month are on those lists as far as the best pre-code films. I'm glad that we're starting here because this one I know, the others I don't. So I'm very curious to hear what you think of this film because, like I said, I kind of fell in love with this.
Yeah, so why don't we talk about the movie then? Let's not get to me stalling and let's talk about Jewel Robbery.
somewhere in the suburbs, untouched.
Untouched and in the suburbs? Oh, no. No, that doesn't intrigue me at all.
Please?
With pleasure.
Thank you.
If you'll come with me.
What?
What do you expect me to do in there alone? I'm a respectable woman, and I am afraid. Don't you think I'm afraid? I shan't close my eyes all night.
Well, this is one night I shall be very glad to be with my husband.
How do you know that?
I overheard your conversation in the bedroom.
While I was undressing?
You were everything I anticipated.
This gay, romantic robber stole many precious jewels in his life. But he took something from this lady her own husband never knew she owned. Ah, but did he steal them? Or did she give them? It's Kay's big secret, and you will have to find out for yourself.
So the film is directed by William Dieterle. It is based on a Hungarian play that I'm not going to attempt to say the name, but it is based off of a play written by Ladislas Fodor, and it was adapted for English by Bertram Bloch. It stars William Powell and Kay Francis. This is the 7th time that they would be together on screen. And it is a film that follows William Powell as a robber who robs a jewelry store where Kay Francis, who plays a baroness, is with her husband and her boyfriend, and shenanigans ensue. Emphasis on shenanigans. So we kind of already got out of the way why. So, Mike, what did you think rewatching this for the first episode of Mike White March?
It's funny. I must have been smoking one of those funny cigarettes because I remember the jewel robbery scene itself, and I thought that was the majority of the movie. And then when it kept going from that, I was like, oh, wait a second. No, there's more to this film. So I had forgotten the twists and turns, and I only saw this a few months ago, so I don't know what was going on, but I forgot pretty much the second, maybe, act of the film and the third act, of course. So once I got to the very end of it, I was like, okay, I remember these last few shots, but I didn't remember how they got from point A to point B. But yeah, I loved it. And I loved the chemistry between Powell and Francis. And I will fully admit, when I think of William Powell, I think of Myrna Loy, I think of Carol Lombard, but I had no idea that he and Kay Francis had made movies together in so many movies. And Kay Francis, for me, I mostly know her from Trouble in Paradise, the Ernst Lubitsch film. I am not that familiar with her filmography otherwise, so that I think was another reason why I kind of glommed onto this, because I just find her delightful. And I love that she always has this very mischievous look on her face, and that she is just playing along with everything in this movie. There's no time where she's like a girly girl. She's just like, okay, yeah, whatever. And this whole movie feels like it's catered to her. Like, she's bored at the beginning, talking about how, she will, breakfast in the morning, a man in the afternoon, and a Veronal at night. And so she's got no excitement going on. The two guys that she's with in the beginning of the film are such schlubs, and it's just like, oh, these guys seem like they're so in love with themselves and not necessarily in love with her. And then when Powell shows up in her life, it's like, oh, okay, there can be some romance, and we can play bad girl for a little bit. And it's almost like and this is me as a man speaking, but it's almost like a female fantasy being played out of like this roguish character coming in and sweeping her off her feet.
I'm glad you said it, because I was kind of going in the same direction. It does seem on the, like you said, the female fantasy, which is perfectly fine, because that's a perfect analogy for a lot of what goes on in this movie. It is, the garish, dashing rogue of a bank robber who would never harm a woman, but he makes overtures at her constantly. And he's got the perfectly, manicured mustache and the perfectly done hair. Not the, Joe Chill, give me your money or I'll shoot you in the, the alley behind the movie theater, Bruce Wayne style. So he's a very different character than I would be used to, when we're talking about criminals in 2021. This kind of criminal is not a thing anymore. This was a cinematic criminal from this time and place, and it works perfectly in this film. I loved this movie. This movie was a quick 68 minutes of fun, and the length of the movie could have been a little longer, frankly. You could have gone into some different directions. They didn't because, again, they didn't need to, frankly. But yeah, no, this is one of the best things we've watched together for Mike White March, because I think, and I haven't seen everything else yet, but this right here is what I imagine when I imagine a pre-code film. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because there's a little bit of naughtiness. I don't think there's very much frank language. There is blatant drug use, which is fantastic.
Yes, because we're in the era of marijuana makes you laugh a lot. The Reefer Madness days is what I mean. This had a little bit of the Reefer Madness thing going on. They don't even say marijuana in the film. It's pretty much just implied the way that they're acting when they smoke the marijuana-laced cigarettes.
Yeah, just they get the giggles, and then I guess there's hallucinations going on with the whole, like, no, I'm Napoleon thing.
As someone who has imbibed marijuana before, this is not how weed is. I mean, I think a lot of people who use marijuana wishes it was as fun as they make it out to be in, old school Hollywood, because man, they made it out to be something a lot more fun than it actually ends up being. Because yeah, they're hallucinating, and it really goes back to that like Reefer Madness treatment of marijuana that permeated this kind of era of cinema. Reefer Madness, the film that also made Bob Shaye, essentially made New Line a thing as well. Best I can tell, at least the way that he tells the story. But it's very funny to see in this media in 32 how they're treating marijuana, because it is very much going to be echoed in Reefer Madness a couple years later, because man, it's hilarious. But it does play into, like you said, what this kind of pre-code film is, because it has that, might not seem like boundary pushing now, but in 32, that's pushing a boundary big time.
I mean, it's one of those weird things, and we're probably going to say this a lot during this month, but we tend to think of our parents and our grandparents and our great-grandparents as being just 100% square. And then you look at something from the era, and you go, oh, wow. No, they weren't square at all. Like all those sharp edges, yeah, they're there. This is pretty cool. There is this frank discussion, like there's a lot of back and forth about her and her bedroom and him wanting to make love with her and basically giving her a little bit of dinner before they go fuck, but yeah, which doesn't end up happening, but that's going to happen once they get to Nice together at the end of the film. But yeah, there's no like beating around the bush. It's basically like, yeah, I'm here to ravish you now. And it's like, okay, great. Let's do it. So I love that this shows people being real people, and that they can have all of these different corners to them, and that that this is the real deal. It's not this, whitewashed kind of thing where, and this is right there when it comes to the bad guy gets away with it at the end.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
There's no punishment for what William Powell does. He gets away clean at the end. He does lose a lot of those jewels that are at his house, but he does get away with the ones that he robbed in the titular jewel robbery.
And he gets the girl at the end, too, so...
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, the things I kind of assumed were going to be in this film, the one that wasn't is what you've already mentioned, which is kind of boundary pushing for the time language, you know, ass, damn, shit. I mean, they're not going to say something that salacious, but, I mean, I guess they could have, theoretically, but there's none of that in this film. It is more just kind of like the infidelity, sexual undertones. Like, obviously, the character that Kay Francis plays is stringing along 2 men at the same time and then ends up falling in with a third. And that in and of itself is pretty boundary pushing. But yeah, I mean, you know, the ostensible villain of this film, quote unquote, I'm not sure that there is one really, is the hero. Like, you root for him, even though he would be in any other film, the quote unquote baddie, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was surprised there's no violence to this, so we don't ever really question him. He's very much the dashing robber. He will brandish a gun, and all of his guys brandish guns. I love the first time that you see his guys in the jewelry store, and they all come pretty much walking up all at the same pace, almost like they're marching, and they all take off their hats at the same time and pull out their guns. It's like this almost like choreographed musical act of these guys that they're not necessarily faceless, but they're very interchangeable. So it's like, okay, how many guys does he even have in this robbery? Because there are just so many and coming and going through these different rooms. I talked about this on another episode recently where I was talking about things being stage-bound. It was The Bitter Tears of Petra von Kant, which was very much a stage play and turned into a Fassbinder movie. This really feels like it's still very stage-bound. Like, once you get to the second act and the third act, the bedroom scene, there's very much the jewelry robbery scene, the bedroom scene, and then the scene at his place. And it feels very much like we were on a stage. And so I just kept thinking, okay, if I was an audience, what would I see? And if I saw William Powell or that character use a gun, I probably would have turned against him if he was violent. But he is just so damn dashing and so nice about everything and just so matter of fact as far as, I don't like violence. I don't like to do this stuff. It's much easier if I just do it this way. And he's like, the way that he cleans up the entire jewelry store, taking everything, is so much so that he impresses the night watchman with how clean everything looks.
Well, and I like that you have this scene where William Powell essentially throws all of American thieves under the bus, too. He's like, I'm not much for the American way of being a robber. You know, the guns blazing, shoot him and then ask questions later. He's like, I'm much more civilized than that. I love that. That just, again, you just get this wonderful insight into who this character is, and it's so much fun, because like, yeah, it's Americans. It's like, you are American. Like, but he's using that transatlantic thing, right? I mean, it's this transatlantic accent that all these actors at the time were using. So they're trying to bridge that gap. But I love William Powell's performance, and this is the first time I've ever seen him in anything, which kind of a shame for many reasons. I have seen none of the Thin Man Dashiell Hammett films, so
I can't vouch for the sequels, but the first one is fucking fantastic. It is amazing. And my goodness, if you have a proclivity to alcohol, if you have a problem with alcohol, I would say don't watch the movie. If you have a proclivity for alcohol, you're going to be wanting a drink after you're done watching it, because these people drink like fish. It is amazing. That's a great one. And then I have seen My Man Godfrey, and I really recommend that as well. But yeah, I'm in no way, shape, or form a Powell expert. I've just seen a couple of the highlights, and if I ever saw something come up on the guide and said that William Powell was in it, I would probably turn it on because I like him that much.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you now. He's just he is kind of the charismatic actor I assume this pre-Code Hollywood was full of. I mean, Clark Gable got his start pre-Code. Jimmy Cagney got his start pre-Code. Both very charismatic actors. So for me, sitting here, like, those were the kinds of charismatic actors I was expecting. And right out of the gate, you have William Powell, who his screen presence alone is it's fantastic. It really is.
What's a weird thing with these pre-Code films, because I don't know if we talk about silent films when we talk about pre-Code, because they were, pre-Code. But you think about this little pocket of time between the introduction of sound film, the jazz singer was 27, and then the Hays Code really comes into effect in 33, 34, I think it usually is counted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get that little pocket of 6 years in there where they're making these sound films, and it's just like this amazing quantum leap, not just of technology, but of sophistication. And you can go to making something like this, which is 90% dialogue, and just it ripples. Just the way that they go back and forth with these lines is fantastic. The double entendres are being thrown back and forth. This is such the writer's medium. I absolutely love it. And to your point, these leading men that are there and just so dashing, so charismatic, and able to just throw these lines out like nobody's business.
And like you said about the Hays Code, I mean, there is that weird period where the code was there but wasn't even being enforced.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just, like you said, they're just making movies too. They don't even care. And there is that like little rebel spirit to this that I do like, because, I mean, this film comes out, and it's 2 years before they start enforcing the codes, but the codes are there. I mean, they could be following them if they were enforcing them, but they chose not to. But how do you? Because we're obviously going to talk about it a lot. How do you feel about MPAA and stuff like that? Obviously, because the MPAA is the contemporary existence of the Hays Code, obviously, and the PCA with the Production Code Administration. So, where do you come down on the MPAA? Because we haven't really talked about it a lot on my podcast.
I mean, I've lived through the controversy of PG-13 when children's films were being deemed too violent, or let's say films were being deemed too violent for PG audiences. And it's so weird because you look at something that was rated PG in the 1970s and then look at something that was rated PG in, say, 1983, 84, and you're like, okay, the PG was so much more lax in the 70s. Like, Jaws was rated PG. These days, Jaws would probably be rated R. And it's just amazing that because of the way that times change, the ratings have to change to go with it. And so when the ratings aren't able to handle what people think is too violent or too explicit, then you have to create a new rating. So I was also around when they created NC-17 to avoid an X rating. But then at the same time, NC-17 films weren't being picked up by certain companies. So like AMC, I think, was playing NC-17s, but then other companies like a UA or some of these others weren't playing NC-17 movies. So it's this weird form of censorship by the market. It wasn't necessarily, because really it's kind of that whole like you vote with your dollars kind of thing. It's like,
right,
I want to see The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover, so I will go and see it. I will pay my money and see it. But, hey, I can only see it at this one particular theater. This doesn't seem right. It's like this weird moral thing of like, oh no, we're the family theater chain. We're not going to show those kind of things. It's like, just get off your fucking high horse and let me see what I want to see. If I'm old enough, great. And again, why are you imposing your moral codes on me if I'm 16 and feel that I'm ready to see a Peter Greenaway film? Let me do it. Why do you think that you know better than me what I can see? And that whole weird thing of like, you can have so much violence and it's fine. You put one boob in it and all of a sudden it's an R rating.
And that's the thing that of all the things in the world that make me upset about the MPAA, it's the fact that they have some sort of weird puritanical hang up with sex. And it makes
especially same-sex couples.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. And I know that we're in some ways, we're both fans of This Film Is Not Yet Rated. I love that film, as I'm sure you've seen it before, right? It for me is one of those things that like it really, I have always been very disappointed that This Film Is Not Yet Rated didn't get a bigger audience, because it felt like if that had come out now, people would be doing something about it. But it came out at a time where like social activism wasn't a thing, because I don't frankly think the MPAA has any place in 2021. I think that at this point, with the advent of streaming, the MPAA is almost completely is completely written itself out of existence, because you can watch whatever the fuck you want on streaming. And the only people that you can go watch whatever the fuck you want on Netflix. No one's going to stop you unless your Netflix account or your Netflix profile is child locked by the account holder. But as long as you have a way to pay for it, you can watch any R-rated movie, see as many titties as you want, because there is R-rated stuff on Netflix. There's not NC-17 stuff on Netflix, which in and of itself is somewhat a problem as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, like with the advent of streaming and streaming becoming the way in a COVID era way of getting entertainment, streaming is the only way any of us have watched anything for over a year. And I refuse to believe people are going to see fucking Tenet or New Mutants. But the MPAA is almost a paper tiger at this point, because your ratings didn't matter, and they really don't matter now that anyone can watch whatever the hell they want on streaming.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they really started to crumble for me when it was cable, and the whole idea of, we're going.
Bugs crashing your PAX party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Going to only show R-rated things after 8, 10 o'clock, whatever. who knows how to record things better on a VCR than somebody that's 12, 13 years old. Not the person that's 36, 37, 40, 50 years old. It's the person that's a teenager, knows how to set up a recording on a VCR a lot easier. So to come home from school the next day, fucking A, I got Felicity on VHS from Skinemax last night. Let's check it out.
Yeah, it's just, to me, I think the MPAA is like the ESRB. I think if you don't want to watch something, don't watch it. If you don't want to play a video game, don't watch it. If you don't want your kids to have it, don't let them have it. But don't impose your own fucking will on the rest of us. Because people already do that enough with other stuff. Keep it out of my movies. Keep your bullshit censorship out of the arts. Because the whole point of the arts is freedom of expression. And when people are telling you you can't do this, or people aren't going to be able to see this because you have a titty or you see a woman's pubic hair, fuck off. Come on. You can literally see that shit on the internet with 2 button clicks. How do I know? Because sitting here, I could look up the most hardcore pornography the internet has to offer while we're podcasting, and the MPAA can't stop me any more than anyone else can. And it's just, it feels like a completely antiquated system that, I don't know, I don't think the MPAA exists in another decade. I honestly think it will become an idea of a bygone era. And I mean, look what's happened here with, pre-code Hollywood. I mean, they didn't even have anything at one point, then they had something, so the system can change. There's no telling that the system couldn't change back to the way it was, or the MPAA could just continue to be ignored like I think it kind of has.
Yeah, it's so funny because people will complain about things like, oh, well, had this movie been rated PG-13, it would have gotten X number of dollars more or X number of dollars less. And it's like, I'm sorry, guys, but I haven't looked at a rating in a movie since I turned 18, probably. I don't care what something is rated. I don't care if I go see a G-rated thing, an R-rated thing. That's not going to tip me off as to what I'm about to see. It's just like, all right, cool. But yeah, people get really hung up on that as far as like, well, they have to make Deadpool R-rated. It's like, okay, sure, that's fine. But don't you just mean they have to make it very obscene to be, like in a good way,
Right, it has to hew close to the source material.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
Which is obscene and crass, and it pushes the boundaries of even what the comic book rating board is okay with. Because, of course, there's a comic book rating board, too. Jesus Christ. The only industry that doesn't have a rating board is books, thank God. Except if you count all the libraries that burn copies of Huckleberry Finn. And I guess now they're going to start burning copies of Dr. Seuss books. So there you go. Look, I think we both agree that censorship in any form is terrible. And I don't like it because you look at something like this and, I don't agree with when someone says that, this movie had been R-rated, blah, blah. I mean, they have a point in the respect of the people whose decisions are going to be based off of that sole piece of information aren't going to let their kids see it or go see it. But I don't buy into the idea that group of people is so large it changes the box office draw of a film that much. If your movie stinks, your movie stinks. There's nothing you can do to change it. Justice League, a film that we're going to be talking about later this month when the 4-hour shit cut comes out. That movie was awful, and it was rated PG-13, and it bombed. Did it bomb because it wasn't rated R? Or did it bomb because the people who were making it had no idea what they were doing? But it didn't have anything to do with it being rated PG-13, I can guarantee you that much.
Yeah, didn't Elizabeth Banks...
Correlation without causation.
Didn't Elizabeth Banks say something about, like, had the rating of Charlie's Angels been R, it would have done better? I was like, that movie was bad, just period. Your version of Charlie's Angels was not good.
No. It's because men didn't go see it because women are in the film.
Oh, that's
stop.
right, it is. That's what it was.
Just stop. That Ghostbusters 2016 argument didn't work in 2016. It doesn't work in 2019. Doesn't work in 2020 or 2021. If your movie's not good, people can tell. If the studio buries your movie, people can tell or can't tell if your film gets buried. I mean, I don't like that people want to make excuses for their own failings. If your movie's not good, there are people you can blame. Don't blame the audience. Because the audiences aren't stupid. They're not. Because the audiences were watching films like Jewel Robbery in 1932 a film that was pushing the boundaries at the time, and it seemed to be rather well received, given that Kay Francis and William Powell worked together 6 times prior to this film. So someone wanted to see them on screen together, and I see why by watching this film, but I don't appreciate people telling me what I can and can't watch as an adult, and I really don't appreciate when another adult tells me that they think they know better than me what someone else should be able to watch, because that's not my job to judge, and it's not someone else's job either, regardless of who appointed him to that position.
Phew.
Yeah, it's the MPAA, man, is not, it's just, it needs to go away. It just does.
Yeah, there's always going to be that moral minority that thinks they're the majority, that just get really bent out of shape about things. And it comes from both sides. You know, it comes from the people that get all bent out of shape about, you know, piss Christ versus the people that get bent out of shape about, I don't even know what, you know, the racial representation. And it's like, okay, yeah. Like, if you're making, like, a Loquisha today, then yeah, fuck you. But if you were making a Loquisha in 1930, it's like, okay, yeah, it was a different time, so we have to accept, like, this was made, it was a different time. But you shouldn't be making that kind of shit today, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there is, like you've said, there is this kind of odd argument to be had where it's like, oh, you know, this is offensive or racist, or, you know, there's a difference between offensive and racist and hasn't aged well, or isn't with the times. I mean, you look at a lot of what's going on now, and I know that you and I have very similar thoughts on cancel culture, just given that I know about how bad it can get, just given how bad the echo chamber on Twitter is, as I know you know how bad it can get, just seeing people going completely ballistic on things that don't need to be gone ballistic on. And to me, it's just like, you need to pick your battles because you can't afford to fight every single one. Because at some point, you have to make a decision what is worth getting upset about. Because if you don't make that decision, you're going to get upset about everything, and then your arguments and your being upset are completely devalued. Completely. And I just...
Yeah,
go ahead.
There's a really nice series that's going to be happening on TCM where they're calling it Reframed and talking about classic films in the rearview mirror. And it's like, okay, let's look at these older films and let's talk about these things. We're still going to show the movies. It's just a matter of, like, let's have a discussion before and after to talk about how things are represented. Maybe they're not the most enlightened things in the world, but these are classic films. You know, don't not show Gone with the Wind because there's some bad stuff in there. Say it was 1939. It's an adaptation of this book that came out in this year, and this is how things were, and this is how it is portrayed. Yes, we know that things could be better. So yeah, let's just have that conversation rather than be like, nope, don't ever show it again. Get rid of it. You know, I mean, my wife loves a lot of Breakfast at Tiffany's. I don't really care for that movie at all, and it's not just because of the Mickey Rooney part. It's just I don't really care for the movie. But we need to still be able to see it, and we need to be able to have a conversation, a frank conversation about how awful that representation of a Japanese person is.
And don't forget that film is rated, what, PG? So as far as I'm concerned, the MPAA board doesn't even fucking get it. It's not all equivalent. Mickey Rooney's portrayal of Mr. Yunioshi in Breakfast at Tiffany's is awful. It is offensive beyond words. And it's a PG-13 film, or a PG film, if that. So, I don't understand. But sex, can't have any of that. Drugs, can't have any of that. But the guy pretending to be Japanese with his eyes pulled back in the stereotypical Asian eye fashion is okay by the MPAA standard. All right.
Yeah, I mean, working at a movie theater, I would have people come up and ask, like, you know, oh, this is rated R. Is that, you know, how is this film? And it's like, well, you know, there's like 1,000 headshots in there. Well, I don't really care about that. Is there any nudity? And it's like, yeah, there might be a breast in the third act. Oh, well, nope, can't see it then. It's like, wow, okay.
Again, it, like you said, it's this weird moral high ground that I just don't understand.
Yeah, you know, I don't get it either.
No. But, I mean, you have people like William Powell and Kay Francis and William Dieterle, who didn't get it either, because here they are working on this film, making this film, that at the time, you know, I'm sure it ruffled some feathers. I'm sure it upset people. I'm sure that there were the same people then as there are now that were sitting on their moral high horse and saying, I would never watch a film about miscreants smoking the devil's lettuce and practicing infidelity. Who fucking cares? It's super entertaining.
Yeah. And if you liked Kay Francis, I would really recommend that you check out Trouble in Paradise. I mean, Ernst Lubitsch's stuff is just always fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I did like her a lot. I mean, her and William Powell together, their chemistry really is the backbone of this film, and I really appreciated how well they played off of each other. And then doing my research while watching it, you know, there's a reason their chemistry is so believable. It's because this isn't the first time they'd ever been on screen together. And that, you know, that to me seems like a lost art in 2021. What happened to that? What happened to actors like constantly working together like this? That's just not a thing anymore. Isn't that kind of odd? I guess it's the studio system's not the way the actors used to be tied to the studios like they used to.
There is a lot of that, and there's a bit of what you're talking about, but it tends to be the main character and then like the side characters. So as soon as you said it, I thought of like fucking Adam Sandler and his goof troop of those same guys that can't get work anyplace else, so they're going to be in his movies. But there are people in that troupe too where they do get work outside of it, but they're always going to show up, you know, like a Terry Crews. It's like, okay, cool. I'm glad Terry Crews is now one of Adam Sandler's guys, so that, you know, I get to see more of him, kind of thing. But
same with Kevin James.
Yeah, Kevin James gets work outside of it, amazingly enough.
I mean, Kevin James I actually like Kevin James, which is, I know, unpopular opinion.
Bugs crashing your PAX party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
But his work on King of Queens is a funny show. I mean, you can see he's actually a rather talented comedic actor. But when he's in Adam Sandler movies, yeah, no. But then again, most of the time, it's just Adam Sandler doing Adam Sandler things, and everyone else has to sit and react to Adam Sandler making fart noises or whatever nonsense he's going to be taking up next. But yeah, or you see more now. You see directors working with actors over and over again. Like when DiCaprio worked with Scorsese over and over again for that 5 or 6 year span. But I can't recall the last time that two leads in a film had been in 7 other films together. That's just not a thing anymore. And it's kind of a shame in a way because their chemistry on screen is so believable and so organic that I almost forget that they're actors, and I just believe that they've completely embodied these characters. And that comes with the territory of knowing someone so well because you've worked with them almost 2 digits worth, double digits worth of films.
Yeah, and I think this might have been one of their last times working together because he was getting married to Lombard and I guess didn't want to work with Francis anymore. But yeah, this is giving me ideas of I should, rip off fucking You Must Remember This and tell the Kay Francis story because it seems like she had a fascinating life. So if I could, really overpronounce my words, I would do that and write a long form story about how Kay Francis got screwed over by Hollywood.
And then you'd be the most famous podcaster around.
Now, if my boyfriend directed Star Wars films, then yes, I would be.
Shh! Don't tell anyone about that part! I mean, look, I'm not going to shame someone for who they date, but also don't pretend like your success is all from you. Not to be a dick or anything, but if I become successful from things I work on, or if you become successful from things you work on, it's partially me, but also partially the opportunity that I've been given. But if I'm related to someone or someone that I know, or I'm, something like that, you kind of just steer into it, Otherwise, you embarrass your significant other because you plagiarize articles on Fangoria.
Yeah, there is that route that you can go as well.
Was it Fangoria or what was it? I forget what it was.
It was everything. It was everything that Leanne Spider Baby ever touched.
Oh, okay, everything. So, and then you embarrass your boyfriend. So,
even her YouTube channel, she would actually take chunks of stuff that people had written and use that as her script. It was that bad.
That's just... C'est magnifique. It would make sense that one plagiarist dates another. So, there is that. But, yeah, it's, when we talk about these pre-code films, and we're going to be talking about them the entire month, so if you're here for it, great. If not, I guess skip Mike White March, but I wouldn't if I were you. I'm going to be really curious to see, Mike, what the other films bring to the table if they have the similar things like, marijuana or infidelity or kind of cavalier sexualism, or if they're going to go in different directions, because I have never seen Jimmy Cagney's stuff, but I know that his stuff, at least, Public Enemy, that has a lot of violence in it, right? That's the violence pre-code stuff, correct?
Right. Yeah.
This is the sexuality comedy stuff. I mean, some of these jokes they verge on blue. And that's, for then, it wasn't even really that dark of a shade of blue. It was pretty light blue, even when they're going blue. But I really like this film. This is a good pick, Mike.
Good. Your wife didn't suffer through this one?
So, that was something I wanted to mention to you. Because it's kind of a running joke on this podcast that my wife sometimes takes umbrage with the choices that Mike has, and it's not anything to do with Mike, obviously. Sometimes the things that you pick, Mike, do tend to go into the less conventional. Crumbs. Jesus Showed Me the Way to the Highway, Celine and Julie Go Boating. These are all films that we've talked about on your podcast, not mine, because my podcast doesn't approach heady topics, not the way yours does. But I will tell you, my wife loved this movie.
Good.
It. She liked it a lot. She was probably even more captivated by it than I was. And I don't see that often because I'm going to level with you. My wife doesn't really like older films. But when we sat down to watch this, she wasn't taken away from it at all. She watched the entire thing like I did. So I am happy to tell you that, yes, my wife liked it. And she was not cursing Mike White in the heavens like during New Wave Japanese Month, or I guess we didn't watch any of those sci-fi films together last year. Probably for the best, but...
So I usually have a rule where I don't see anything before 1975, but this one time, Kay, I decided I would.
I normally don't watch things that doesn't have subtitles. I refuse to read when I watch movies.
Yeah, I'm paying this much for the movie. You should at least do the voices for me.
Yeah, like if I have to read it, then I should just go read a book. I love that argument because those people who say that aren't going to read a book anyways.
Exactly.
So fuck you. I'll just go read a book. No, you won't.
Right.
Reading a book you're complaining about reading a movie or reading the lines of dialogue, and you're not going to go read a fucking book where you have to imagine things in your head. God, don't make your brain work that hard. Not to shit on people who say that, but I mean, it just sounds ignorant. I won't watch movies with subtitles. Okay, well, good job, like, ruling out all cinema but English cinema.
Right.
Or films that are dubbed, and dubbed films are really bad. Even dubbed anime is bad. Like, dubbed Studio Ghibli films are terrible. Terrible. I would rather just watch the film and read the dialogue on screen. Because Tina Fey and Ponyo is fucking awful. So I said it. So, Mike, what would you give Jewel Robbery out of 5?
I would honestly give this like 5 out of 5. There's nothing about this movie that I would change. I've seen it now twice. I would easily see this movie a third, fourth, fifth time. Yeah, I don't want to say it's flawless, but it's pretty damn close. And you mentioned the 68-minute running time, which is one other thing I love about cinema at this time, is just how tight these stories were. There's not anything that's wasted in here. So yeah, I'm going to stick with my 5.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 as well. I mean, this is a really strong opening to the month, and this is one of the few months I've done in this entire run of the podcast where I'm not worried about anything else. I'm not. I'm not normally worried during Mike White March anyways, because I know you pick a lot of really good, fun stuff, unlike me, who picks stuff that is just bottom barrel garbage most of the time, like Body Swap Month. But I'm excited for the rest of the month. I liked this film a lot. I'm going to watch it again because it's the length of like a normal episode of a TV show. 68 minutes. I mean, yeah, 40 minutes, but you tack on another 20 and you can watch an entire film in 68 minutes. That you can't really do that. Not with now cinema. I mean, stuff that comes out now seems like every movie now has to be 2 hours, because if it's any less than 2 hours, it's not worth making, I guess. So I love this 68-minute runtime too, because man, the film just flies by. They make use of every minute, and it shows.
Yeah.
So, on that note, let's take a break, and I will play a preview for the next Kulturecast of Mike White March. That's right, on the next episode of the Kulturecast, we're going to be talking about The Divorcee, another pre-code film. And on that episode, I'll be joined once again by Mike, and our good friend Jess Byard is going to be joining us as well to talk about The Divorcee. I can't wait. I am looking forward to this month a lot. So, Mike, on that note, where can people find you, and what have you been up to wherever people can find you?
That's a very nice way of getting to it. You can always find me over at the Projection Booth Podcast, which is available at projectionboothpodcast.com. While I am doing Mike White March over here, I am also doing some stuff over there. I am celebrating my 10th anniversary of the Projection Booth on the 10th of March with an episode all about the Duke of Burgundy. So that will be a lot of fun. Speaking of lesbianism and BDSM and just things that are probably unacceptable to most middle Americans, there you go. Duke of Burgundy. Enjoy it. Suck on that.
All the middle Americans that live outside of our houses.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm so squarely in the Midwest, it's not even funny. Though yeah. I would say really it's more the Middle East.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure isn't the actual center of the United States, I believe, if the trivia murder party question I got over the weekend is to be believed, it is somewhere in Kansas. Great. So
that does not count Hawaii and Alaska, I imagine.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. It's only the contiguous United States. The center is somewhere in Kansas. Yay. Not to shit talk Kansas. Kansas is beautiful if you like nothing. But, it's just a lot of flat. I mean, I live in Nebraska. What the fuck do I know? It's flat as fuck here, too. So, I've never been to Detroit. Is it flat in Detroit?
It's not as flat as Ohio, but it's pretty flat.
Yeah, there you go. So, To be fair, though, where I was in Ohio when I visited Jess in 2019 was rather geographical. It had some hills and stuff. Maybe it's more western Ohio is the flat part. But all of Nebraska is flat, best I can tell. So that's fun. As for me in Middle America, you can find me on Twitter at Christmas Claus. And that's where I post everything I work on. Chronicles from the Crypt, Barney Miller, One Season Show, On Seagal. Everything that I work on is there, and I post it there. Big thanks to you, Mike, for joining me and for programming the month, though this is only the opening episode. So we got another 4 more to go. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to it, as I know you are. So, here's to the next episode. Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be a fun month, so make sure to check out the next episode.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.